Okay, boys and girls, let's go through today's lesson. For those of you who missed, and just for those of you who want to go over it as notes. Okay, first thing we want to do is get our X and Y axis, right? We have price, quantity of pizza, the market is pizza. So we have a supply curve, and then we have our demand curve. Okay, and where they intersect is equilibrium, or you could refer to it as market price. Okay, and then you have the equilibrium or market quantity. This is where the producers and the consumers are happy. If the price is $3, consumers will buy 80 slices, producers will bring 80 slices to the market. Okay, and we will be what's called an equilibrium. Now, maybe there is an advisor who decides that he wants to sell pizza after school. So let's go through equilibrium. So let's say there's an advisor who wants to charge $5 for a slice of pizza after school. Well, we know what happens automatically with the law of demand. As price goes up, the quantity is going to go down. So the first curve we hit is the demand curve. We go down to find out how many people would be willing to buy pizza at $5 a slice, and we would be able to sell 48 slices. Okay, opposed to 80 slices at equilibrium. So we're going from 10 pies to 6 pies. But the producers are very excited by this. So the club selling the pizza thinks this is a great idea. So they're going to bring 120 pies to after school to sell. That's 15 pies. Okay, so they think this is a wonderful idea. So they're going to do that. The problem, though, is we have what's called a surplus. Okay, so we have a surplus. That's the difference over here of 120 that we have at the table and 48 customers that we have willing to buy. Okay, so according to Adam Smith, don't mind the phone. According to Adam Smith, the price cannot stay at $5 because of this surplus. And you know what happens after school. When there's leftover pizza, they lower the price. Adam Smith called this, so you see the price will be pushed down from 5 back to 3. Okay, Adam Smith called this the invisible hand. Okay, the market forces are pushing the price down because the price is too high. And we know that because there is a surplus of pizza after school. Okay, so whenever the price is above equilibrium, there's a surplus, and the invisible hand will push the price back down to the equilibrium price. Okay, so that's one scenario. Start off with the same scenario, and then we have someone like Miss Cerise who thinks, well, I'm going to charge $2 and I'm going to feed more people. Well, she's not wrong about that. What she doesn't understand, though, is at $2 a slice, they're not making much profit, so they're only going to buy 4 pies. They're going to have 32 slices. But, as she said, at $2, people will want pizza. So we have 104 people buying pizza, right? I think that's like 9 pies or somewhere around there. Actually, a little bit more. Okay, I think it's 12 pies. Okay, so what happens is we have 104 people waiting online here, right? But we only have 32 slices. So 104 minus 32 is the shortage we have because we charge $2. So anytime the price is below 3, below the equilibrium price, you end up with a shortage. How is a shortage fixed? Well, the invisible hand jumps in again, pushes prices back to equilibrium. All right, so what you need to understand is anytime the price is not at equilibrium, whether it's below or above, the invisible hand will push it back to equilibrium. We always gravitate back to equilibrium unless there's an underlying force, there's something other than supply and demand working that stops it. Okay, and in that scenario, we will look at what happens when the government says you can't put the price as high as equilibrium. Equilibrium is too high, people can't afford it. We're going to put a price ceiling on the good. And that's when we set the price below equilibrium, and we're not allowed to bring the price above that. That's why it's called a ceiling. So you can't go above the price, and it ends up causing a shortage. Okay, so we end up having a problem with the amount. You end up having black markets. Okay, and an example of this is rent control. In New York City, the New York City government says you should charge certain prices. In certain apartments, they are controlled by the government, the prices, and the landlord has to take that price. The problem with that is people never want to give up those apartments. Okay, so they live in these rent control apartments and they never give them up, and that causes a shortage for apartments in Manhattan, which can force the price to be higher. Okay, graphically, let me show you. Why do I do that? Every time I do that. Okay, click there. So we go through this. Okay, so here is a price ceiling. We're at our normal equilibrium of $3, right? But now the government says, Dr. Gitz says that we as clubs cannot sell pizza for more than $2 a slice. Okay, and he puts that there. What ends up happening is we have a shortage, okay, and see the arrows here. This is a ceiling. We can't get past them. We would love to get past them to get here, right, because that's what the market's willing to pay, but we can't. Okay, and what we end up having there is a shortage. Okay, that's a shortage there. So the price ceiling leads to shortages. All right, the next scenario is what's called a price floor, where the price is set above the market price. This causes surpluses. An example is minimum wage laws. So I pay workers in Great Neck Estates $12 an hour to work for us. Truthfully, the job's probably not worth more than $10 an hour. Equilibrium price would be $10. Kids would be willing to work for $10. I'd be willing to pay them $10. The government does not allow me to pay them $10. The government says I have to pay a higher price. Okay? So when they do that, they end up causing a surplus. Because now I'm not going to pay the worker because he's not worth $12. I'm going to get some type of technology. Okay, so a price floor, right, would be here. It's above equilibrium. And then we cause a surplus. And the invisible hand that we talked about earlier can't work because the government has set this price. And it's a floor because those arrows can't get past the floor. Right? Equilibrium is below the price. That makes this a floor, and we're trying to get past it. Okay, so that is your price floor, price ceiling. I'm going to put a worksheet up for you to do on that material. I'm going to go over stuff on Monday and Tuesday with some Zoom lessons just to do a review, and then you will have a test on Wednesday at about, I'm going to go with 3:30 on Wednesday, depending on the weather. We'll check the weather to see if it's a crappy day. But we'll definitely go a little bit later in the day, so you guys don't have to worry about getting up early or other classes. I will check with Psych. Okay? All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.